get comfy. Well, hello. Welcome back to this. You can't see it right now, but this room is such a mess right now. I just finished up my final week of school, so we are now getting back to taking care of the space. And then I got sick. So the universe is not liking my planning strategy at the moment. So today we're going to talk about, I don't want it to be too serious. I don't want it to be much of a downer, because I feel like it's very easy that this will become a downer. But I feel like it's important to talk about, because I feel like a lot of people do not talk about it. And yeah, I don't want to be that person who doesn't talk about it. So we're doing it. We're doing it. So for those of you who are here for the first time, hi, my name is Lindsey. I am an actor, not full-time, but I like to be. And I also have ADHD, and depression and anxiety are products of that. I was diagnosed when I was 12 years old. And if you're one of those people who's going to go into the comments and say ADHD isn't real and I had too many dyes in my diet or something equally stupid, kindly don't. I was 12 years old. It was also around the time I decided to do musical theater as like a profession. The interest in television and movies and everything kind of came later on. But all those things kind of came about at the same time. So the big things about ADHD, it's not just sort of a lack of focus or being unable to focus. There's also a bit of overstimulation. I have notes here. So I have issues with organization. I said the room is a mess. I've gotten better at it. Organization can also mean time management, knowing where my keys are, knowing where my backpack is, knowing where my shoes are, and knowing what I'm going to wear the next day. And emotional regulation is a big part of that. I can be very easily swept away by a single emotion and go flying off the handle without thinking beforehand. I can get very angry all at once, I can get very sad all at once, I can get very happy all at once. And that could be over the course of a day. ADHD also gives me pretty poor impulse control. This can mean saying things I regret, spending money on things I don't need, and acting on unhealthy coping mechanisms. It's like if the idea gets in my head and it stays there long enough, pretty soon I am going to act on that idea. So the emotional regulation side of things definitely contributes to the anxiety. And that's kind of mostly what I want to talk about today. ADHD and anxiety kind of go hand in hand, but right now we're going to talk about the anxiety and how it affects me and my career. So last month I recently got a manager who has now been sending me on auditions. I haven't had to go into the city or physically do anything. A lot of it's just submissions. But she's been submitting me for things. It's the first time she mentioned anything about having to go into the city for an audition, and it was about 2 days out, and I immediately started panicking. I ended up trying to figure out how I could get out of it, and most of this has to do with travel anxiety. Now, I travel a lot. This isn't like your run-of-the-mill, like I'm scared of planes or trains or something like that. For me, it's just unfamiliar territory. Like, I know how to go get on a train. I've done it with people before. I know how to drive a car, but I have a phobia of highways, which we're trying to work through this year, which means also driving in unfamiliar places can make me panic, and I'm worried I will panic and cause an accident or something else unsafe or hurt somebody. So knowing that I had very little prep time to figure out how I was going to get to New York City, which is a good 3 hours away from me, very quickly, sent me into a complete tailspin, complete panic attack, and I was freaking out. And I immediately jumped to, XYZ, what if I'm late, what if I freak out, what if what if, I can't calm myself down enough to do this audition and all this stuff, what if I get lost, what if I get kidnapped, all these things. Makes things very hard, especially when that kind of travel is 90% of my job. So even if I booked a job, I'd still have to go back in and do it again. Auditions and acting and doing things on set or going to a new theater space or anything, it's constant new territory for me, which freaks me out so much. I love my routine. I love knowing what I'm doing. I love knowing what the day is going to look like previous to that. I love planning. I would love to be able to see into the future so I can know what to look for and what to expect. It doesn't happen that way because that's not how life works. I'm terrified of like getting into sketchy situations, like not knowing what exactly I'll be walking into. You can visualize it as much as you want, but it's never gonna quite match what you get. And it also really gets to me when I see other people succeeding, even people who have anxiety and things, succeeding. And I can't help but sit here and be like, why can't I just do that? They just do it, and even if they're nervous, they do it anyway, and I don't understand how they get past that block. Or I know some people who it seems like their anxiety fuels them and actually makes them do all the scary things, because their anxiety is more fueled based on success and climbing a ladder and like can't stop, won't stop kind of attitude, which is also not healthy. But it's really hard to navigate, and it's also hard when you've got people depending on you and you want to be a valuable aspect to like a management company or an agent or a director. You don't want to seem unreliable or unstable, and it's really hard. I can't call up a director and be like, hi, I need you to figure out how to get me to your set because I'm terrified of driving on the highway and my parents can't drive me everywhere. It's hard. It's really, really hard. And I get really upset whenever this roadblock comes up. ADHD and anxiety kind of are besties because ADHD comes with a lot of fear of failure, and failure can be anything from I lost a big audition or I got fired to I got lost on the way to the audition, and that means I failed at life and I suck and everything sucks and the world is against me and I'm not cut out to be here. And it makes you feel, it's just this constant feeling of like worthlessness if you can't do a simple task, because you think everybody else has figured it out and I haven't figured it out because my brain's broken and everybody else got this missing piece that I was born without. It's rough, and especially when 90% of my job is doing things that I'm unfamiliar with, where you're bound to screw up. It makes things really hard, and it also puts up roadblocks whenever I need to do something really simple, like make a phone call. I know this is a really like cliche anxiety thing to be terrified of. Not a lot of people like making phone calls. For me, it's not even the human interaction part, even though I'm heavily introverted. It's not knowing what to expect. What kind of demeanor am I going to get from somebody? What kind of information am I going to need? What am I going to say? And people have suggested to me like scripting it out, like it's an acting thing, and I'm like, yes, but I don't know what they're gonna say, so how is the script gonna work? I panic about phone calls. I had to call someone to schedule headshots, and I was terrified to do it. I was sitting there with the phone in my hand just panicking. And there is a great YouTube channel out there called How to ADHD, if there's any other ADHD people watching. There's 2 videos. It's called The Wall of Awful, and it explains why simple things are really hard for people with ADHD. I'd send it to everybody just so I can explain to them like what my life is like. And it also explains how to get over/through the wall. Go check it out. I'll link it below. Or if I figure out how to do one of those little boxy things, I will do that. But I mean, I work on it all the time, even if it doesn't look like it. There's a lot of stuff that happens up here that a lot of people don't see or, you know, recognize. And it's really, really rough, and it sucks because you feel like you can't tell anybody, because you can't be like, I drove on the highway, and everyone's gonna be like, I do that every day. Why is that special? And I'm like, well, because I drove on the highway and I didn't panic or hurt anybody or myself. Which is, it's literally like walking through life just stricken with terror constantly. And I'm trying to find ways to get over it / around it / through it. But it's not gonna go away. ADHD is not something that is curable. It's something that's managed And there are some like advantages I've found to it. I've found that like because I have an ADHD brain, I can come up with like multiple solutions to things, where everyone else can probably think of like one thing. I got like 6 things going on at once, which can be sometimes very beneficial, and sometimes it's very helpful in creative careers to have a multi-channel brain, but it's managed. I was on medication when I was in middle school all the way through high school, and then when I started college, the schedule just didn't work with how I used it, because I really only used it for school. I wouldn't take it on weekends. I advocate for it 100% because it helped me figure out all my strategies, because the brain part was being taken care of, so I was able to figure out what made me comfortable, what made me organized, and how I would keep track of all my stuff. When I started an office job, I wasn't taking medication, but I had 6 things I always had to do all the time and keep track of all my tasks. And getting up at 6 in the morning when you're half asleep all the time to get into a job really early in the morning, I'd figured out routines and gotten everything down pretty well. So I was pretty stress-free when I was getting up in the morning. And that was all due to things I'd figured out when I was in high school and taking medication. So I highly advocate for it. It also annoys me when, this is like a little side rant, it annoys me when people take ADHD meds to gain an edge. It's just, it's so disrespectful to people who need it, and then it gives people who are against medication more ammo to take it away because they use the excuse. It's like giving them cocaine, and that's not true for all medications. That's only true for some, and used on regular brains, yes, it is like giving you cocaine. Used on an ADHD brain, it's very different. It brings you up to average, where for normal people it takes them up to above average, which is just stupid, and I really hate when I hear about, as someone who's gone to a couple different colleges and have friends who've gone to college, they're talking about their friends using Adderall for fun or for studying. It's just disrespectful, and don't do it, because there's a lot of people out there who these things have helped them, and you're kind of on it. So, okay, rant over. It's something I do, it's something I work through every day. That audition I was supposed to go to ended up not happening. It was just a submission, turns out. It was preemptive. It was a preemptive message from my manager asking if I was even interested. And I took it as a set in stone kind of thing, and I panicked and I went off the deep end. And that's something I'm learning to do, is just figuring out what's going on right now and not jumping ahead to X, Y, Z, 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, 7, 8, skipping 4. But yeah, it's, in creative careers, I feel like it's really easy to look like you don't have any problems. I feel like it needs to be talked about. I think Patty Murin tweeted about her anxiety attacks. She plays Anna in Frozen right now, and she was tweeting about her panic attacks and how she had to take a day off from the show because I think it just got so bad one day that she just had to take a day off. And I know for me, I wouldn't see panic attacks as a decent excuse for taking the day off, because to me, I have to be physically ill in order to justify taking time. So, yeah. If you have a mental health problem and you are also in a creative career or not a creative career, tell me about it down below. And I'm going to put the links to the ADHD videos about the wall of awful for those of you with ADHD brains down below. I can't remember her name. I love her though. The girl who hosts the channel, she's excellent. She has a TED Talk as well, which I related to so hard. And subscribe if you want more of this. I do musical theater videos mostly, but I would like to expand into media. It does say theater and media on my channel, so I'd like to talk about TV, movies, whatever, if you have any ideas. And follow me on all my social media down below. Sometimes I talk about mental health stuff, and most of the time I just post pictures of my dog. She's adorable. So if you like dog pictures, follow me on Instagram. You will not be disappointed. Alright, I will see you next week.